Well, good morning. It's Wednesday morning. We're going to read from Acts 21:17 through 26. When we had come to Jerusalem, the brothers received us gladly. On the following day, Paul went in with us to James, and with all the elders were present. And after greeting them, Paul related one by one the things that God had done among the Gentiles through his ministry. And when they heard it, they glorified God. And they said to him, "You see, brother, how many thousands there are among the Jews of those who have believed. They are all zealous for the law. And they have been told about you that you teach all the Jews who are among the Gentiles to forsake Moses, telling them not to circumcise their children or walk according to our customs. What then is to be done? They will certainly hear that you have come. Do therefore what we tell you. We have 4 men who are under a vow. Take these men and purify yourself along with them and pay their expenses so that they may shave their heads. Thus all will know that there is nothing in what they have been told about you, but that you yourself also live in observance of the law. As for the Gentiles who believed, we have sent a letter with our judgment that they should abstain from what has been sacrificed to idols, from blood, from what has been strangled, and from sexual immorality." Then Paul took them in, and the next day he purified himself along with them and went into the temple, giving notice when the days of purification would be fulfilled, and the offering presented for each one of them. So Paul visits the Jerusalem church. He visits James, the head of the Jerusalem church, and tells about all the converts he's mustered among the Gentiles, and they tell him about the Jews in Jerusalem who've come to believe in Jesus. So what are we going to do here, Paul? Because your message is different from our message, and your message is a little different from what the Jews believe. You're telling people out there, we hear, that they don't have to circumcise their children or don't have to walk according to the law. But these Jews here are not going to put up with that. So we got to do something. And so they asked Paul to purify himself in the temple along with these 4 guys who are doing it. And then everybody will know that you're still a faithful Jew. And Paul doesn't care. Paul says, "Oh, okay, I'll do that. It doesn't matter, but I'll do it." And then they tell Paul, "We've sent a letter to the Gentiles," recites what's in that letter briefly. Paul was there when they decided that and wrote that letter back in Acts chapter 15. So maybe Luke has forgotten that, or maybe Luke joined the train later, or maybe James forgot that Paul knew about that. But anyway, it recites again what that letter said to the Gentiles. So they're trying to find a way so that everybody believes sort of the same thing. And most of the practices are pretty much the same. It's a real complaint, this complaint against Paul, that you tell people to forsake Moses and not to walk according to our customs. I don't know. I've been around people who are telling others to forsake their customs. I went to a thing one time in Pennsylvania. It was a thing for all the pastors in the state. And there was about 300 pastors in this gathering, and it was all about the emerging church, which was a big news in those days, 15 years ago or so. And this guy who was kind of a big deal in those circles arrived and showed up, and he stood up in front of us, and his shirt tails hanging out on one side, and he says, yeah, I have some notes, but I lost them, but I wrote some things down on a napkin. And I'm thinking, you got to, all these old guys are sitting in front of you in suits and ties. You can do better than this. Tuck your shirt in, do a presentation in a more formal way, and act like you know what you're doing. I don't care. That was my one of my complaints about that thing. Or you go to contemporary worship and it's 30 minutes of music and then 30 minutes of bad preaching and then it's over. Or sometimes the preaching is good, but there's no liturgy, there's no flow to it. It's just music and then the word, and they say, well, that's all you need. No, it's not all you need, and there's a reason why we do things the way we do them. So give up those traditions. They're old and musty, and who cares? That's not good enough, folks. There are people out there who believe that, and I know that there are thriving churches that worship that way and love it. Good. I'm not complaining. I'm just saying that we're not going to give up our traditions just because somebody doesn't like them. The traditions are there for a reason, and they're worthwhile. So Paul faces that same thing. What should I do with these Jews? Well, he doesn't really care, but unless they're told, well, you have to do these things in order for Jesus to save you, then he's like, wait a minute, stop. You don't have to be circumcised. You don't have to follow the dietary rules. You don't have to do this and this and this. Faith in Jesus is what saves you. And if you can't, if you think it's faith in Jesus and X that saves you, we've got a problem. And that's the problem he has with, say, the Galatians later on when he writes the letter to the church in Galatia. So we learn Paul is he says somewhere that he's all things to all people. He acts this way when he's with these and this way when he's with these. A better way to look at it is to say, well, he has a core gospel that he proclaims, and then the context can change according to what the people happen to believe already. And so Paul can adapt to the circumstances, and here he does just fine. He says, okay, I'll go along with the people in Jerusalem because this is Jerusalem, and that's who they are, and good enough. So think about that today, and think about what is the core of the gospel for you, and what could you give up, and what could you hold on to as, no, this is non-negotiable. Think about that. And have a great Wednesday. And we will see you tomorrow.